Dropship product margins. In this video, I would like to discuss what a profit margin is. It is also important for you to know how to find profit margins and what kind of profit margin you can expect when dealing with a dropshipper. A profit margin is basically the difference between what you sell your product for and what you paid for the product. When you deal with a dropshipper, your profit margin will be a little smaller than if you were selling a product you owned previously or when you bought at wholesale in bulk. To determine the profit margin with a dropship product, it is important to know the chain of command attached to each product you sell, or, as I like to say, how many hands are in the pot. What typically happens with a dropshipper, excluding manufacturers and wholesalers who dropship, is that a manufacturer will make the product and then sell a whole warehouse of the product to a wholesaler, who in turn will mark up the product and then sell smaller lots to other wholesalers or dropshippers. This is a typical transaction, and by the time the product gets to you, it has already been through at least 2 markups and may include any dropship fees or percentages. Then what will happen is you will put the item on your website and sell it to a customer who will receive the package directly from your dropshipper, who will assess the fees for shipping and handling. As you can see, this is why profit margins are usually a little lower for you when you use a dropshipper. This shouldn't discourage you from using one. It is just important to know what to expect when you deal with dropshippers. You need to remember that just because the profit margins are a little lower, that does not mean that this method will not be profitable. If you find a good product that you can sell a lot of, it will all balance out in the end. Plus, when you deal with a dropshipper, you don't have to worry about housing inventory, buying shipping supplies, and spending extra time packaging and shipping product, all things that cost you precious time and money. Now that you have the general idea about dropshippers and what to expect, let's talk money. You will want to make sure that your profit margin is around 15 to 35%. This is a typical percent range and fits right in with online sales margins. If you are a little lower, it might be okay if you are pushing a lot of product. To find your percentage, this is what you will do. Get a price list from your supplier. Then go online and do some research to see where your competitors are selling the product for on average. You will want to look at the average and not the extreme high or low. You really want to be somewhere in the middle. A really easy way to get a good look at your competition is to go to www.pricegrabber.com and type your product in the search bar. This site will give you various sites and prices for the product you requested. Once you have done this and found your average price, you can start to play with some numbers to see if you can be competitive and still make money. I will give you an example of how to do this and you can follow along. Let's say the average price for the product you are selling is $100. You're going to take that $100 and then you will deduct your price for the product, shipping, and any drop ship fees from that amount. So let's say that all in all your total cost is $40. Take the average price, which was $100, minus your cost, which is $40, and you get $60. Now take the $60 and divide it by the average price of $100, and you will get 0.60, which is 60%. This would be an excellent profit margin. Another thing that you want to remember is that there are other costs involved in running a small business besides just shipping and dropship fees. When you run a small business, the costs can become dramatic. This is why you want the profit margin on your product to be in that 15 to 35% range. Often, unexpected costs will come up, so the higher your profit margin, the better. Remember as well that there is always an exception to the rule. If the profit margin is lower than the 15%, just make sure that you do all of your homework to make sure it is profitable. Often, when you sell really high-end products like vehicles or homes, your profit margin is way below the 15% mark, but it is usually okay because the 15% equates to hundreds or thousands of dollars. Just be sure that you think about any product before you commit yourself to it. When you look into any dropshipper, you want to make sure to use this equation before you decide to put it on your site. A little homework now will go a long way.